Hello and welcome. Today I want to do something very special. Let me tell you the story about how this came about. I have a friend and mentor. His name is Joe Bruno. This is Joe Bruno right here. Joe Bruno has been a member of the Society of American Magicians Assembly 6 forever. This guy is a brilliant performer. He's a fine human being. It's been my privilege to know him for many decades. I remember when I started. I actually met Bob Tilford at the Lou Walston's place, the Funhouse Magic shop, and Bob Tilford brought me into the Society of American Magicians, and that's where I met Joe Bruno. And Joe has taught me so much magic over the years, and he just has filled. You know what? It was great about Joe to get to know him. Joe is a person who's filled with life, filled with energy, filled with passion and enthusiasm for the art. You know, I said to him recently, Joe, I want to interview you. I want to do some segments on you. I think he's watched the channel in the past, and so he sent me his biography. He wrote his biography up for me. And he sent it to me, and he sent me this photograph to use. And I said, you know, I would still love to interview Joe, and hopefully I'll get him here, and we'll do that. If you read The Linking Ring, you've probably seen a lot of his material. He writes parades all the time for The Linking Ring. He just had one published very recently. And so he just is an amazing magical creator. He's written many books on the subject of magic. He's a guy that I used to perform with quite a bit when I was affiliated with the Society of American Magicians. We went out and we did shows together. We did shows all over Pennsylvania. We did shows all over Baltimore. So he's a fine entertainer. But more than any of that, he is a fine friend. He's been a friend to me, and mentor to me for decades. And I wanted to take some time out and do a tribute to him. I want to interview him. I still want to interview him. But for right now, I'm going to do this little tribute. This is Joe Bruno right here. He is a Maryland resident. He lives here in the Baltimore area. He creates here in the Baltimore area. He is still very much active in the Society of American Magicians Assembly 6. So if you happen to be living in this area, go over to Assembly 6, attend a few meetings, meet Joe Bruno. You will not regret it. He is one of the finest human beings I have ever met. So what I want to do, and this is very unusual for a video format, but I'm going to do it. I'll tell you why. I'm going to record Joe's biography. I'm going to record his story. And hopefully it will continue in posterity because I think his story needs to be told. And along the way, I'm going to interject some of my own memories. You know, one of my fondest memories, in the summertime, Joe used to have a little party. By the way, for years and years, decades, Joe used to host the Society of American Magicians at his house. So we would all gather there in his living room, and then we'd go down to his basement, and he had a performing area, and we would do our tricks in his basement. And that was lovely, and that was wonderful. And then in the summertime, he had a above ground pool in his backyard, and we used to go over there and we'd have a little pool party in the summertime. But my fondest memories really are Halloween. Joe used to have an annual Halloween party. And he would go down, he would decorate either his basement or his garage or some area. He would decorate it as a haunted house. And, you know, he is an engineer, and so he would rig up these things. If you stepped on a panel, something would happen. He even had Pepper's ghost principles at work, so you could actually see a ghost. He just was an amazing, his love of life is infectious, let's put it that way. And so I'd go over there and we'd sip on some hot apple cider and go through his haunted house. And really, what great time, what great memories. Joe gave me that. He gave me that. And I'm so grateful to Joe for all that he's given to my life. I think I've done a video called The Color Monty. The handling that I demonstrate in that video, if you haven't seen it, take a look. is Joe Bruno's. Joe Bruno, I mean, it's a commercially marketed trick, but Joe Bruno came up with a different handling and really a different method for doing it that I think is superior to the original handling. So anyway, this is Joe Bruno's life story. I was born on October 26, 1930 in Reading, Pennsylvania. My father was a furrier and had his own fur store. We lived in an apartment above the store, and I spent a good part of my childhood in the workshop behind the store. I think I learned to sew almost before I learned to write. As a teenager, I worked in the shop after school and during summer vacations, dry cleaning fur coats and managing our cold storage facility. I had two brothers, Richard and Guy, and a sister, Victoria. I studied music and played the saxophone, clarinet, marimba, and vibraphone. My older brother Richard played the accordion and the piano. We had a four-piece combo and played in nightclubs on the weekends. We also built weddings and other special events. So here you see Joe developing his performance career at a very young age. My father hoped I would take over the business, but life had other plans for me. In 1950, the Korean War broke out. To avoid the draft into the Army, I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force in February of 1951. I spent 4 years of service in the Air Force and became a radio mechanic. Ironically, as fate would have it, I did 2 tours of duty in Korea on special assignment to the U.S. Army. God bless you, Joe. God bless you for your service. Being a radio mechanic spurred my interest in electronics, so after my service in the Air Force, I attended Lehigh University studying electrical engineering. I graduated in 1959 with a BSEE degree. I worked in the aerospace industry for 33 years. First with the Philco Corporation in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, then with the Bendix Corporation in Towson, Maryland, which later through mergers became Allied Signal, then Honeywell International. I worked on many interesting programs during my career, including the SAMOS, the SYNCOM satellites, the Sidewinder missile, the microwave landing system, the Patriot missiles program, the ARIA aircraft, and several NASA programs. NSA programs. Eventually, I advanced to an engineering manager position and later to quality assurance manager. My interest in magic began around 10 years of age when one of my uncles taught me a simple trick. 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket with peanuts. After that, I was mostly self-taught by reading books on magic from the library, by purchasing tricks from magic catalogs. Memorably, the Douglas Magic Land catalog, which I discovered from comic book ads. Also, being a musician, I learned stage presence and was comfortable performing in front of people. I have performed children's magic, adult magic, mentalism. In the early 80s, I was the only working mentalist in the Baltimore area. You know, back in the 80s, mentalism was not as popular as it is today. And, you had guys like Dunninger much earlier than that. But you really didn't see a resurgence in mentalism until very recently. So it's true, Joe Bruno was a standalone mentalist for many, many years. I've done the usual birthday parties, blue and gold banquets, church functions, nursing homes. I especially enjoy performing at our annual show at Keswick. Oh, now this was something that Joe and I did together for years and years and years. Keswick is a nursing facility, it's a nursing home, retirement facility, and they have this huge and beautiful stage and theater. So I used to love to go down to Keswick, and we would produce a 1 hour to 90-minute show down there, and we had a curtain so we could have people working in front of the curtain while we were setting up illusions behind the curtain. We had a great sound system that I used to provide. And we just had a wonderful time doing those shows at Keswick. The blue and gold reminds me of an amusing incident. I hope you don't mind if I digress to tell the anecdote. I was performing at a blue and gold banquet. I was the Boy Scout. It was the Boy Scouts' 75th anniversary celebration. It was a joint banquet and several hundred participants, including all levels of scouting. I had heard that the scouts were coming out with a special white kerchief with a picture of boys' uniform at all levels, all 3 levels of scouting. I called the Boy Scout headquarters, explained that I was doing a show for the scouts and wanted to give away something special to my volunteers. I was able to obtain several kerchiefs. They were beautiful. Also, I purchased several regular yellow scout kerchiefs. I also bought a pair of surgical scissors, which are very sharp. I placed them in my right hip pocket. During the show, I got a volunteer up, standing him on my right side, and asked him to remove his kerchief. Twisting it tightly, rope fashion from opposite corners, I placed an 8-inch ring on it and had him hold one end while I held the other end in my left hand so my right hand would be free. Pulling the ring several times, I demonstrated that the ring was trapped on the kerchief. I had him hold the ring and pull on it. I asked him if he would like to see it come off. He said yes. I whipped out the scissors, and in one swift stroke, I cut the handkerchief in 2, which was possible with the surgical scissors. The audience roared with laughter as the startled boy reeled back, ring in hand. At first he was delighted. Then it sunk in that I cut his kerchief in half, which got more laughs. I offered to fix it and did the usual mismade, then restored change bag routine. Of course, he had a nice new kerchief to replace his less than new old one, and then displayed the white commemorative kerchief, which brought all ohs and ahs throughout the crowd. He was the envy of everyone. During the show, I gave away the rest of the white kerchiefs to other volunteers. Scout leaders asked me after the show how I got them, since they were trying to get them and they were not yet available. So that's Joe for you, man. He is resourceful. He is creative. And that must have been a hugely memorable moment. Thank you for sharing that with us, Joe. Now back to my biography. When I moved to Baltimore in 1962, by the way, I was born in 1960. So there you go. When I moved to Baltimore in 1962, I met Bob Tilford at the Yogi Magic Club in Baltimore, Maryland. I also met his daughter, Judy, who was his magical assistant. Judy and I began dating, and I got married in 1964. My daughter, Diane, was born in 1965. My wife and I had a house built in Randallstown in 1967 where I still reside, and I've been there many times. Love that house. My son Thomas was born in 1974. After 17 years of marriage, Judy and I got divorced. I've given numerous lectures, mostly for the Yogi Magic Club of Baltimore, but also in Columbia and Pennsylvania. My lectures included Anatomy of Misdirection, demonstrating the principles outlined in my book by the same name, 12 Steps to Creative Magic, again from my other book, 2 different lectures on my original magical creations, Pasteboard Parade, a collection of my effects using paper in various forms, Stage Card Magic, card effects suitable for stage presentation, Routine Close-Up, the value of a prepared presentation, Mentalism, my original routines, Maximizing Your Loads, how to get the most production articles in the least space. I have been a member of both the International Brotherhood of Magicians and the Society of American Magicians since 1962. I like to share my creations, and I've written 8, I think 9 now, but maybe 8 one-man parades in the Lincoln Ring magazine with over 130 tricks contributed. Also, I have published 2 books, The Anatomy of Misdirection, which has received accolades from around the world, and 12 Steps to Creative Magic, both of which are in my personal collection, by the way. I've read them. They're wonderful books. Both books are available on Amazon and at Murphy's Magic Mart. So Joe Bruno sent me his biography. I know that's unusual to sit here and read a biography to you, but I wanted to do that, folks. Once again, this is Joe Bruno. Thank you so much, Joe Bruno, for all that you have given me and so many others involved in magic in Baltimore. Thank you so much for your mentorship, your friendship, your love, and your creative magic. You're the best. Thank you. Hey, listen, folks, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please comment down below and let me hear from you at david@daviddellman.com. Thank you so much. Have a great day.